You're listening to Neurodivergent Mom Life, unfiltered and unstoppable, where we embrace the chaos, celebrate neurodiversity, and empower moms like you to thrive in motherhood. Family dynamics can be complex, especially when you add neurodivergence into the mix. In this episode, we're breaking down what it means to have a neurodiverse family and how to navigate those dynamics with compassion and understanding. Whether you're dealing with different needs, communication styles, or parenting approaches, this episode will give you the tools to create harmony in your home. Let's dive in. We're going to be going beyond the diagnosis, understanding the spectrum of neurodiversity in moms. So, if you're anything like me, you probably spent your childhood feeling like a quirky alien who crash landed in a world of normal earthlings. Maybe you were the girl who got in trouble for daydreaming in class, the one who always had her nose in a book, or the one whose bedroom looked like a tornado hit a glitter factory. Any of that sound familiar? Well, guess what? There's a name for that feeling, and that's neurodivergence. It's like a big old rainbow of brain wiring, and it means we see, hear, and experience the world a little bit differently than the neurotypical majority. But it's especially awesome for women because it makes us even more unique. Like we really need another reason to be. So now here's the thing. For years, the world of neurodiversity was a bit of a boys' club. Doctors and researchers thought ADHD and autism looked a certain way, and that way was usually a rambunctious little boy. So a whole bunch of us amazing neurodivergent girls and women were overlooked. We were told we were just too sensitive, or too emotional, or too dramatic. But the truth is, we're just neurodivergent in our own beautiful, badass way. And it's time we reclaimed our space in the neurodiversity conversation. Neurodiversity, though, isn't just a one-size-fits-all label. It's a vibrant tapestry of minds, each with its own unique strengths and challenges. Think of it as a cosmic mixtape filled with tracks that range from the upbeat rhythms of ADHD to the soothing melodies of autism. But there's so much more to the playlist than just those two chart droppers. We've got the lyrical genius of dyslexia, where words dance and twirl in unexpected patterns. There's the rhythmic flow of dyspraxia, where coordination and movement find their own groove. And let's not forget the meticulous attention to detail of OCD, where thoughts and actions create a symphony of order. Each of these tracks represents a different way of experiencing the world, and together they create a rich and diverse soundscape of neurodiversity. For too long, though, the world of neurodiversity has been seen through a masculine lens. This has led to a significant underdiagnosis of women and girls, leaving many of us feeling lost and misunderstood. Research, though, suggests that women were less likely to be diagnosed with ADHD and autism than men, and when we were diagnosed, it often happens much later in life. But why the disparity? Well, societal expectations and gender stereotypes play a big role. Girls are often encouraged to be quiet, compliant, and we end up being people pleasers. This can lead us to mask our neurodivergent traits, adapting our behavior to fit in with neurotypical norms. We become chameleons, blending seamlessly into our surroundings, but at a very high cost. Masking can exhaust our energy and leave us feeling like imposters. It can also make it difficult for us to recognize our own neurodiversity if we spent so much time trying to hide it. But here's the good news. We're not alone. There's a growing movement of women who are reclaiming their neurodivergence, shedding the masks, and embracing their authentic selves. So let's ditch those deficit models and embrace our inner superheroes. We've been conditioned to see neurodivergence as a list of problems, but it's time to flip that script. Remember 11 from Stranger Things? Her issues with telekinesis turned out to be pretty darn useful. So let's channel our inner 11 and decode those so-called challenges into superpowers. Hyperfocus? No. That's laser focus. The ability to zero in on a task with the intensity of 1,000 suns. Just ask any neurodivergent who's written a dissertation in a weekend. Social awkwardness? Please, that's authenticity. A refreshing break from the endless cycle of small talk. And forget about impulsivity. That's spontaneity, our secret weapon for adding a little bit of spice to life. But hey, we're not saying it's all sunshine and rainbows. Every superhero has their kryptonite. So here's a treasure trove of tools and tricks to help you manage those everyday struggles. Tip number 1 for organization. Forget those Pinterest perfect color-coded calendars. All about what actually works. Maybe you should try out some apps like Trello or Todoist to wrangle those to-do lists. Break down the tasks into bite-sized chunks and reward yourself for each victory, because who doesn't love a good dopamine hit? For the emotional regulation when you're feeling overwhelmed, channel your inner Elsa and let it go with journaling, meditation, mindfulness, or a good old-fashioned dance party. And then there are apps like Calm and Headspace, which can also help you find your zen. When it comes to communication, sometimes words feel like they're playing hide and seek in our brains. So don't be afraid to use visuals, scripts, or even emojis to get your point across. And remember, there's no shame in asking for clarification or taking a time out to process information. For some additional tips and tricks, when you can, I would recommend things like fidget toys. So whether it's a squishy ball or a tangle of string, fidget toys can be a lifesaver for restless hands and wandering minds. Now let's talk about those noise-canceling headphones. Drown out the world's distractions and create your own peaceful bubble. Maybe you should try body doubling, where you work alongside a friend or family member, virtually or in person, to boost focus and accountability. Remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are countless resources out there waiting to be discovered. So don your superhero cape, grab your trusty sidekick, maybe your cat, your dog, and go forth and conquer the world one superpower at a time. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. For many of us, we have a neurotypical partner. You know, the one who lovingly, but sometimes cluelessly, tries to understand your brain's unique operating system. Explaining neurodiversity to a neurotypical partner can feel like trying to teach a cat to play chess. It's doable, but it takes patience, persistence, and a whole lot of truth. After all, they haven't spent their whole lives navigating the world with a brain that works a little bit differently. They don't know what it's like to have thoughts that ping-pong like a pinball machine or to feel overwhelmed by a trip to the grocery store. But that doesn't mean they can't learn. And that's where we come in. Here are some tips for bridging the neurodiversity gap with your partner. Tip number 1, choose your moment. Don't try to explain everything in one epic monologue, unless your partner is a fan of TED talks, of course. Find a calm, quiet time when you both have mental bandwidth to engage in a meaningful conversation. Tip number 2, speak their language. Ditch the jargon and use metaphors and analogies that your partner can relate to. For example, executive dysfunction is like having a bunch of apps running in the background for your brain, draining your battery. Tip number 3, be patient, even when you want to scream. Remember, your partner is on a learning journey. It's okay if they don't get it right away. Just keep communicating, educating, and showing them what your world looks like. Tip number 4, find common ground. Focus on the strengths of your neurodiversity. Maybe your ADHD gives you boundless energy that your partner admires, or your autism helps you see the world with a fresh perspective. And tip number 5, humor is your friend. Don't be afraid to laugh about the challenges of neurodiversity. It can lighten the mood and help your partner feel more comfortable about asking questions. Communication, above all, is key. Set clear expectations and let your partner know what you need from them, whether it's more patience, understanding, or help with certain tasks. Practice active listening. Really listen to what your partner has to say, even if it's frustrating. Remember, they're trying to understand your world too. Compromise. Relationships are a two-way street. You willing to meet your partner halfway and find solutions that work for both of you. And seek support. If you're struggling to communicate with your partner, consider couples therapy or joining a support group for neurodivergent couples. Remember, love isn't about finding someone who is exactly like you. It's about finding someone who appreciates your differences and celebrates your unique way of being in the world. With open communications, patience, and a whole lot of love, you and your partner can create a relationship that thrives on the beautiful spectrum of neurodiversity. So, my fellow Goonies, never say die. Being a neurodivergent mom is like navigating a treasure map through the underground caverns of parenthood. It's challenging, unpredictable, and sometimes downright hilarious. But just like the Goonies, we're a band of misfits who discover hidden treasures along the way. And let's not forget the unique bond we share with our neurodivergent daughters. We're their Yoda, their Galadriel, their Mama Fratelli, minus their criminal tendencies, of course. We understand their struggles, celebrate their strengths, and teach them to embrace their inner Goonie. So here's to us, the neurodivergent moms who are raising the next generation of superheroes, artists, scientists, and world changers. May we always find the courage to be ourselves, the wisdom to navigate the challenges, and the humor to laugh through the chaos. And remember, if life throws you a sloth, just give him a baby Ruth and keep on trucking. After all, we're on an adventure, and the best is yet to come. Are you loving this podcast? Your feedback means the world to me. If you're finding value in the episode, please take a moment to leave a review. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the Neurodivergent Mom Life podcast. Every week, we're diving into the realities of raising neurodivergent kids while embracing our own unique paths. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and join our community of unstoppable moms.